Oh, yeah. No, I'm not muted. Hello. Hello to viewers wherever you are. Thank you for coming tonight. I don't know the words to that song either. Is that a shocking thing to hear? Not really. Let me make this a little bigger. Right, right, right. Hello to viewers wherever you are. Hi, Oomph. I hope you had a good day. Oh, that's a good song. That's actually not a bad song. 5 seconds? Okay. I set it to ultra low latency, which I apparently must do before I start the stream. So I did it. So perhaps that's the best one can expect. I don't know. I'm going to read up on that. I would like to read up on that and figure that out. That would be interesting to me. It's actually getting, I'm actually having quite a lot of fun, even though it's a struggle and I get really frustrated when like things don't work out. I like get exceptionally frustrated. I still am having a lot of fun learning about it. I wish I wouldn't like learn by, well, learn by mistake. Like I wish I could absorb it. I just don't have the patience to like watch a bunch of videos or read a book or, which I know sounds stupid when it comes out loud, but such is life. Things that are stupid come out of our mouths. That's just the way it is. Some things will never change. Oh, but don't you believe them? I don't really like Bruce Hornsby, and I know that's a little bit of sacrilege. I guess I actually really like Bruce Hornsby, but I think I just got oversaturated with Bruce Hornsby at a certain point in time. But I do like that song. That would be a nice song to like rearrange and make slower. Like even slower than it is. Like that would be a fun song to do that too. Oh, the way it is. Oh, some things will never change. Oh, don't you believe them? I mean, that's a really nice progression, or whatever they call that. I don't know what the musical term is for that, but whatever that is, like, that's fun to sing. I judge songs on how fun are they to sing. How fun are you to sing? 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 Ah, yes. I am gonna have. I'm really have some. We are still in. I thought we were done with spring cleaning, but this is not a thing that happens in. It takes a village. No, it takes it takes a village of time. It takes a village made of time people to get your spring cleaning done. We're almost there. It's just like that last part where it's like really hard to get everything done. I need, and this is why I may actually like, sometimes I might cancel a stream. I won't cancel the lounge. I promise. I won't cancel the lounge. So we're going to do a lounge this week. Of course. And I'm going to do something tomorrow morning. Well, yeah, I have 2 streams. No. I have 1 stream tomorrow morning. And then I'm not sure. No, I'm not doing anything in the evening necessarily. I'm not sure. And then Thursday I'll probably have to just like focus on like getting through the rest of this housework. It's important. I got to do it. It'll make everything better. Cuz I want to build the little studio thing. I still haven't built my little like dressing room. Remember I got that fake dressing room? Well, it's not fake. I mean, it's like a real dressing room. So, for those of you who don't know, I like to sing and I like to record songs, and I live in an apartment building, so it's kind of hard to like belt it out. Hi, Basket Package. How are you? So, in order to like belt it out, I wanted to get like a little sound booth kind of thing, but they're very expensive, obviously. You know, they're like, you can get really fancy shit and stuff. But I didn't want to get that serious. And so, good. I'm glad to hear that. And so and then I looked on like Amazon and stuff like that, and they have like little like recording booths with like moving blankets, you know, draped over a frame basically, when it's just enough for one person really to stand in and record. And they're like $400 on Amazon. I'm like, $400 for that? I just can't believe that. So anyway, I puzzled on it for almost a year. And finally what I said was, oh, I see these other things. And they're basically like a little do-it-yourself, like, you know, department store dressing room. And they're like circular, and they have drapes and a little metal frame that you put together. And it was like much cheaper. It was like a quarter of the price. It's like $100, maybe. In fact, I think it was less. I think it was less than that. In fact, I know it was. And the fabric might not be the best, but I can reinforce that, you know, with what I've got. So anyway, I'm just really looking forward to like, I just need one like space in this room cleared out. It's almost like a Rubik's Cube, you know, or one of those puzzles where you would have to move one piece in the squares to move another piece to another location, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then another. And then for me, you would never get to see what the fuck you were trying to build. I don't know what your experience was with those, but my motor skills, I guess, weren't, you know, tippy top notch. So I just need I need to Rubik's Cube this place, because I have things like I want to move. Like I'm going to move that chest of drawers, over there. I'm going to move that under the live sign. And then in the corner is where I want to put the little recording booth, because I think that would be fun. I don't know. That was an idea. But I need to Rubik's Cube the shit that's beneath the live sign right now, because I have some of those. You know those like collapsible bins that are fabric? I have like I think I have two of those. And it's like it's like storage. I hate stuff. Can I tell you that? When I lived on a boat, that was the happiest living situation ever, bar none. It was a horrible relationship that I was in, because the guy was really terrible, but the boat was fantastic. And I loved living on a boat, because you had to absolutely pare down everything. You couldn't have a lot of anything. It made me kind of sad because I gave up a lot to move on to the boat, but that's a whole other story. And that's, you know, you can't live in regrets like that. But nonetheless, again, it's just stuff. It's just stuff. Anyway, but it's interesting. Yeah, like that. I just really enjoyed living on a boat. I don't know how I got to there, but here we are. I do that all the time. I do it all the time. And we have 15 viewers. We have a few over here on the wonderful YouTubes. Then we've got some more over on Twitter. Really grateful that everyone's here tonight. I like my little corner of YouTube. It's a nice place. Actually feels quite like not safe, you know. Rubik's other shape was a boat. God, see? It all makes sense now. Nietzsche. Dancing. All of those things. All of it makes so much more sense now. Dope. Anyway, welcome. Welcome. Oh, and I will say this weekend on I can't seem to find a place to put the gaming. I really want to do gaming, but I get like I have to be in the mood to game. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't, but I just feel like I have to. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Oof. I knew it. I knew it. Mm. Um. Yeah, I can't remember what I was gonna say. It wasn't important. Oh, no, it was important actually. So on Saturday, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, but it is Memorial Day weekend. I hope you have really nice plans. Let me tell you what my plans include. My plans include, I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to end up, but I think, I don't know. I got to scope it out. But there will be somewhere in Los Angeles that there will be a dinosaur. And they will be handing out flyers with action steps, just very simple action step, I should say, to promote media literacy and combat propaganda being distributed as if it were a documentary. So this weekend, in honor of Memorial Day, Democracy Dino is going to be out on the streets of Los Angeles educating the public about what they can do to combat disinformation and promote good media literacy. It's not censorship. I'm not saying there isn't a place. That shit can go live on Rumble. It can live on Locals. It can live on anything it wants to. Well, it's a good thing you asked, Oomph. Because I found out the names of the individuals who would be responsible and the people to contact at both Apple, iTunes, and Amazon Prime, who are the head of content that is provided on their platforms, which includes the Flynn movie, which is the hyper revisionist history mockumentary that Mike Flynn is trying to promote as his redemption tour, number one. And number two, among the many other offerings that exist on both iTunes and Amazon are a number of Dinesh D'Souza films, among other Christo-fascist and other disinformation-laden mockumentaries. Again, presented. I am also case in point, Sound of Freedom. So I want to start making some noise with the heads of those programming units to say, no, propaganda is not fact. And it should be either labeled as such or it should be relegated to platforms like Rumble or Locals or whatever the fuck. That's what I think. So that's what I'm going to do. That's on Saturday. Yeah. So anyway. There'll be a lounge Friday. We're going to do trivia. Talk about the news. Tomorrow, I wonder what tomorrow is. Let me see what tomorrow is. I just can't remember. Hold on. I know tomorrow's Wednesday. It's the midweek trash heap. It's the midweek trash heap. Na-na-na. It's the midweek trash heap. Na-na-na. It's the midweek trash heap. Na-na-na. It's the midweek trash heap. Oh, here we go. Good. Oh, good. It doesn't screw it up. Hi, Badger. How are you? You're welcome. I'll get you a digital version of the flyer so that we save. The reason I did a physical flyer, I did a small one. Or no, I had to, you know what? Sorry, it ended up having to be regular size. Darn it. I'll encourage people to recycle them. Don't worry. And the thing about the flyer is I did want to go a little old school on this one. I know. It's not usual. I actually am not a very big paper person. I actually have not I was known for not using a lot of paper when I was working because I don't like all the paper shit. So I definitely didn't prescribe to like paper, but I thought, I don't know, if something struck me that maybe like going a little old school for this one might be an okay idea. And then I have my signs. Can't see them. Oops, you can't see them at all. Oops. Anyway, you can't really see them. It doesn't matter. I have food in my teeth. But I think that if it, I don't know, I just thought it might shake things up a little bit. I'm giving it a shitty shot. How are you, Badger? So, let's see. So tomorrow, blur, blur, blur. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here we go. So tomorrow morning, midweek trash heap. Oh, tomorrow morning is actually an interesting hearing. It is the House Energy. Let me make sure this is the right one. Yeah. Okay. So this is a weird one. Okay. House Energy and Commerce Committee Chair. Oh, you did? Oh, I should have taken a nap. I had really bad dreams last night. Like it kept me up all night. And I just woke up really off. Like the whole day was off. It was kind of strange. Anyway, so this is the House Energy and Commerce Committee Chair Kathy McMorris Rogers from Washington and Ranking Member Frank Pallone from New Jersey announced a Communications and Technology Subcommittee legislative hearing titled Legislative Proposal to Sunset Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And the quotation from, again, the description of the hearing. For years, lawmakers have made efforts to reform Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, but have faced relentless opposition. Failure to revisit and reform this law is both irresponsible and untenable. We look forward to hearing from experts and stakeholders as we discuss the future of Section 230 and consider draft legislation that would sunset the decades-old law and force Congress and stakeholders to work together in good faith to develop a long-term solution, one that both preserves the ability to innovate while also ensuring safety and accountability for the harms platforms pose. So that's actually going to be a really interesting hearing, I think, tomorrow morning. So, yeah, join me for that if you can. And yeah. Welcome to, we have 17 viewers. We have a few over here in the lounge hanging out on YouTube at Real Lolo. Please come over and subscribe. It's free. And then we have a few over on Twitter, and I'm really glad to see you all over there. Thank you for making me a part of your evening. Yeah, I just wanted to, I really like, I don't know. I just thought it would be good. I wasn't going to read tonight, but I thought I kind of need to. I kind of need to just keep going. And so here I am. And again, with the gaming, it's so tough because I really want to get better at the gaming, but I'm also like very impatient. And sometimes I just have to be in the mood to game. And so scheduling gaming sessions for me is sometimes hard. That's just an excuse, but I got to figure that out because I want to stream more. I really enjoy streaming. It's really nice. I don't know. It's really nice. I very much enjoy it. I also got some like $6 nails in the mail, and I don't know. I was thinking of trying them. Look at what color they are. They're really cool. I get so tired. Like I get my nails done sometimes, but I get so impatient, and it's better for me to like just do the glue on stuff. Like I'd rather just get a nice manicure and then like have nice healthy nails. I don't know. Anyway, look. Oh, see, my nails are so tiny. I literally have tiny nails. Oh, that's like weird. I can't really. It's hard for you to see what color they are. Let me see if I can. Oh, I know. I can do this. No. Oh, here you go. You can see which color that is. Okay, I hope I don't drop it. I think I'm going to end up dropping it. That's okay, though. Let's see. Oops. Can you see? Oh, you can't really see. It's kind of hard because the lighting is so fucked up. But they're like this iridescent pink. I really like them. They're kind of fun. I don't know. I like having fun. Life's for having fun. In between the sad parts. I highly suggest having fun in between the sad parts. Now I'm not sure where I'm going to put them. Now you did it. Box kind of got mangled. Thanks, Amazon. Thanks, Jeff Bezos. Anyway. I don't know. So, I thought, I'm going to come on here and read a little bit for you, and then I will go to off the... Uh-oh. Don't give me your right name. Here come the cops. Just kidding. It's life in East Hollywood. It's the way it is. Some things will never change. Oh, but don't you believe them? I don't even know if that's really the words, to be honest with you. But it works. Okay. All right, let's get to it. Whoa, hi. I got a little friend and a little tiny kitty. Hi. What you doing? What are you doing? What? Come here. Come here, Sam. Samwise Gamgees. Is it Gamgee or Gamgees? Does anybody know what the Hobbit character's name are? This was Bobo's idea. Bobo named this cat. Hello. Hello, sir. Hello, my darling. Hello, my darling kitty. Hello. He's like, it's time to go to bed, mama. This cat is like it's like clockwork. I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk about you like that. Okay, bye. Anyway, that was Samwise. And he is pretty white. Gamgee. Thank you. Sorry. I always get it wrong. I really apologize. I know she would be mad at me if she heard me say that. I don't know why I mispronounce it. Gamgees, guys. Gamgees. And that's kind of what he was like, if you think about it. You know what? So it kind of like word association. Is that what they call that? All right. Let's get to it. Okay, welcome to Bedtime with Lolo. This is the part of the Lolo Media Empire universe where I read a book because if I don't read it to you, I won't read it at all because I don't have a good enough attention span. But here we are. And we've read a couple of books so far. God love you, Mr. Frodo. And so do I. God loves you, Mr. Frodo. I don't know. Yeah. That's it, exactly. I didn't watch that movie again. We should do like I've done a marathon of like all the Hobbit movie or whatever. Lord of the Rings. Sorry, 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 sorry. The Fellowship of the Ring. Whatever. Don't get mad. Don't write letters. What? Did I? Did I just do that? Do what? Show a marathon of them? Did I do that? Oh shit. I did, didn't I? I think we did. God damn it. Smoke weed every day. Um, okay, I did. Yeah, you're right. God damn it. Well, they're just such a great marathon. They make like the perfect marathon. God, we did do that last year, I think. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. Sorry, everybody. Um, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, god damn it. I can't get enough of those hobbits. Feh. It should be an annual event. Atrocities. Hobbit, hobbitrocities. 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 You're right. It wasn't that long ago, actually, though. It's a good point. Yeah. Oh well, that happens. Mm. Oh well, that's okay. Mm. Um. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Okay. So we're reading this book, The Ministry. My head's a little somewhere. Okay. So we're reading this book, Ministry for the Future, by Kim Stanley Robinson, who is a well-known science fiction novelist and super smart guy. And Oomph recommended this book, and it really has been a really great complement to the political books that we read before, like Rachel Maddow's prequel, and also historian Heather Cox Richardson's Democracy Awakening. So those are two that we already read, and now we're here. And there is a playlist on my YouTube channel, so if you want to catch up on the chapters that we've read, or Seventh Heaven, either Touched by an Angel, Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, or Seventh Heaven. Take your choice. Each session, to do it in as calming a tone as possible and provide commentary as well. The intention of these sessions is for you to relax and just hopefully rest and end your day on a relaxing note. Can't confirm that it's very positive, but this is a really excellent book. Very important topic around climate crises. And he takes a kind of narrative novelization approach to it, but it's chock full of really good information. And so I hope you take something away from it and learn something, and are also able to relax and end your day on a calmer note. So, without further ado, we are currently on chapter 24, which sounds like a lot, but there are over 100 chapters, so it's okay. You're still in a good spot. And if you fall asleep, I will not be offended. Actually, that is a great compliment. So I hope you can now just settle in. Forget about your Tuesday. Your Tuesday is over. If you're in Australia or somewhere else, maybe it's your Wednesday. So I hope you can take a minute or listen to this at another time and just rest. And let me do the driving for a minute. All right. Here we go. The Ministry for the Future, Chapter 24. Just as we are all subject to some perceptual errors due to the nature of our senses and physical reality, we are also subject to some cognitive errors built into our brains throughout the period of human evolution and unavoidable even when known to us. The perceptual illusions are easy. There are certain patterns of black and white that, when printed on a paper circle and the circle then spun on a stick, the paper will flash with colors in the human eye. Slow the spinning down, and the printed pattern is obviously just black and white. Speed it up, and the colors reappear in our sight, just the way it is. Foreshortening is another perceptual distortion we can't correct for. When standing under a cliff in the mountains and looking up at it, the cliff always appears to be about the same height, say 1,000 feet or so. Even if we are under the north wall of the Eiger and know the wall is 6,000 feet tall, it still appears to be about 1,000 feet tall. Only when you get miles away, like on the lakefront at in Thun, looking south, can you actually see the immense height of the Nordwand of the Eiger. Right under it, it's impossible. Everyone can accept these optical illusions when they are demonstrated. They are undeniably there. But for the cognitive errors, it takes some testing. Cognitive scientists, logicians, and behavioral economists have only recently begun to sort out and name these cognitive errors, and disputes about them are common. But unavoidable mistakes have been demonstrated in test after test, and given names like anchor bias, anchor bias, you want to stick to your first estimate or to what you have been told. Ease of representation, you think an explanation you can understand is more likely to be true than one you can't. On and on it goes. Online there is an excellent circular graphic display of cognitive errors, a wheel of mistakes that both lists them and organizes them into categories, including the law of small numbers, neglect of base rates, the availability heuristic, asymmetrical similarity, probability illusions, choice framing, context segregation, gain-loss asymmetry, conjunction effects, the law of typicality, misplaced causality, cause-effect asymmetry, the certainty effect, irrational prudence, the tyranny of sunk costs, illusory correlations, and unwarranted overconfidence. The graphic itself being a funny example of this last phenomenon, in that it pretends to know how we think and what would be normal. As with perceptual illusions, knowing that cognitive errors exist doesn't help us to avoid them when presented with a new problem. On the contrary, these errors stay very consistent in that they are committed by everyone tested, tend toward the same direction of error, are independent of personal factors of the test takers, and are incorrigible in that knowing about them doesn't help us avoid them, nor to distrust our reasoning in other situations. We are always more confident of our reasoning than we should be. Indeed, overconfidence, not just expert overconfidence, but general overconfidence, is one of the most common illusions we experience. No doubt this analysis is yet another example. Do we really know any of this? Oh dear, what do these recent discoveries in cognitive science mean? I'm going to bookmark this page. Yeah. How do you do that? Can I do that? Hold on. Read notebook. Oh, damn it. I don't know what I just opened. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I'll remember that. Okay. Oh dear. What do these recent discoveries in cognitive science mean? Some say they just mean humans are poor at statistics. Others assert they are as important a discovery as the discovery of the subconscious. Little catch in my throat. Fallacy literacy. This is good stuff. This is another great chapter. Others assert they are as important a discovery as the discovery of the subconscious. I'm going to have to cough. Hold on. Come back here. have a little cough, a little frog in my throat. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Consider again the nature of ideology, that necessary thing which allows us to sort out the massive influx of information we experience. Could ideology also be a cognitive illusion, a kind of necessary fiction? Yes, of course. We have to create and employ an ideology to be able to function, and we do that work by way of thinking that is prone to any number of systemic and one might even say factual errors. We have never been rational. Maybe science itself is the attempt to be rational. Maybe philosophy too. And of course, philosophy is very often proving we can't think to the bottom of things, can't get logic to work as a closed system, and so on. And remember also that in all of this discussion so far, we are referring to the normal mind, the sane mind. What happens when, starting as we do from such a shaky original position, sanity is lost? We defer to another discussion. Enough now to say just this. It can get very bad. That is chapter 24. I know what's happening. I've got 2 cats playing behind me. All right. I'm going to take a hit of weed, I think. Hello to everyone on Twitter. Oh, you know what? It's this silly little toy they have. It moves. Do we have to play with that right now? Okay. I guess we do have to play with it right now. I'll do that. Maybe it'll be better. Okay. Hooray. Sometimes I worry people who vape might not be touching grass enough. That's probably true. That's probably true. That's probably true. I do need to. Yeah, it's true. It's just so much more efficient. No, I'm just kidding. I like efficiency. I think if I had a place to grow it, it might be totally different because I much prefer it. I much prefer weed, actually. So you're right. We don't touch enough grass. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm gonna sneeze. I have a headache. I say I have a headache, and my daughter says you are a headache. So you're not wrong. Okay, here we go. Chapter 25. Zurich in winter is often smothered in fog and low clouds for months on end. Prevailing winds from the north ram the clouds coming in from the Atlantic against a wall of the Alps. I'm going to turn this cat toy off. Okay, we're going to turn the cat toy off. This thing is... I'm going to show you this cat toy. This thing is insane. Give me this. Come here. Come here. Come here. Look at this. Hold on. Let me move this down. Look at this thing. And then it has this thing on the end. And it hits everybody in the face. Oh! I'm turning you off. I'm turning it off, kids. You're just going to have to deal with it. It's turning it off. That's right. Made a decision. That was Mama making a decision. I'm just kidding. Anyway. Hi, everyone on Twitter and YouTube. How are you? Ooh. Okay, let's do this. Let's do it. Oops. Oh, I know what I did. Never mind. Oops. Boop. All right. Zurich in winter is often smothered in fog and low clouds for months on end. Prevailing winds from the north ram the clouds coming in from the Atlantic against the wall of the Alps, and there they stick. Gray day after gray day, in a gray city by a gray lake, split by a gray river. On many of these days, a train ride of or drive of less than 100 kilometers will lift one out of the fog into alpine sunlight. Then again, it's the time of year to get down to work. So Mary worked. She read reports, she took meetings, she talked to people all over the world about projects. She wrote legislative proposals for stronger national laws governing legal standing for those future people and creatures and things without standing. Every day was full. In the evening, she often went out with Badim and others of the team. They would usually walk down the Niederdorf, either cross a bridge or eat at the Zeughauskeller, or stay on their side in the dark alleys around the Gossmünster and gather around the long table at the back of the Casa bar. On this day, the sun had broken through the clouds, so they took the train down to Burgerplatz and another toward Tiefenbrunnen and ate at Tres Kilos, which they usually did only for birthday parties or other big occasions. But this was a day to celebrate. First sun of the year, February 19th. By no means a Zurich record, as Jürgen noted lugubriously. The Swiss like to keep records for these kind of weather phenomena. A short day, so that by the time they got to the restaurant, night had long since fallen. The string of chili-shaped lights draping the entryway glowed like spots of fire. Inside, someone else was celebrating too, and just as they walked in, all the lights went off and a waitress carrying a cake with sparklers, sparking it off, walked in front from the kitchen to the sounds of Stevie Wonder's Happy Birthday. They cheered and sang with the rest, and sat back near the kitchen where they always did if they could. Mary sat next to Esteban and Imini and listened to them flirt by bickering. This was getting to be an old routine, but they seemed stuck in it. We are the ministry for the future, Esteban insisted to her, not the ministry to solve all possible problems that can be solved now. We have to pick our battles or else it becomes just an everything. But everything is going to be a problem for the future, Imeni said. I don't see how you can deny that. So if you pick and choose, you're just dodging our brief, and end up in a shitty future too, by the way. Still, we have to prioritize. We've only got so much time. This is a priority. Besides, we're a group. We have time. Maybe you do. Imeni elbowed him, then poured them both another margarita from the pitcher which had just arrived. They shifted to a discussion of the day's news from Mauna Kea. Carbon dioxide had registered at 447 parts per million, the highest ever recorded for wintertime. This despite all reports from individual countries showing significant drops in emissions, even the U.S., even China, even India, even Brazil, and even Russia. No, all the big emitters were reporting reductions, and yet the global total still grew. There had to be some unreported sources, or people were lying. Opinions as to which it was were divided around the table. Probably it was a bit of both. If people are lying, it means they know they are in the wrong. But if there are secondary emissions no one knows about, maybe stimulated by the heat already baked in, that would be worse. So we have to hope people are lying. Easy to hope for that. You always get it. Come on, don't be cynical. Just realistic. When have people ever told the truth about this particular question? People? Do you mean scientists or politicians? Politicians, of course. Scientists aren't people. I thought it was the reverse. Neither scientists nor politicians are people. Careful now. Mary here is a politician, and I'm a scientist. No, you are both technocrats. So that means we are scientific politicians? Or political scientists, which is to say politicized scientists, given that political science is a different thing entirely. Political science is a fake thing, if you ask me, or at least it has a fake name. I mean, where's the science in it? Statistics, maybe? No, they just want to sound solid. They're history at best, economics at worst. I sense a poli-sci major here, still living in the trauma. It's true. Laughter around the table. Another round of margaritas. The bill was going to be stupendous. Tres Kilos, like all Zurich restaurants, maybe all restaurants, made most of its money by way of outrageous liquor prices. But probably her team thought the ministry would be paying for it tonight, which was true. Mary sighed and let them refill her glass. She looked at the table, listened to Estevan and Imeni flirt, feeling each other out but subtly, as they were with the group. In-house romances were never a good idea, and yet they always happened. No one was going to be doing this job for life, and that was true of all jobs. So why not? Where else were you going to meet people? So it happened. It had happened to her long ago. She could recall this very kind of banter between her and Martin long ago in London. Mary and Marty, two Irish in London, a Prot and a Catholic, trying to find some way to get their claws into the system. Now he had been dead for over 20 years. Quickly and firmly she refocused on the present. Estevan and Imeni were very much alive, and Mary could see why they might take to each other despite their obvious differences. Well, who knew? Their banter was a little brittle, a little forced, and what drew people to each other was fundamentally unknowable. For all she knew, they had already become lovers and then broken up and were now negotiating a settlement. No way to be sure, not from the boss's angle. At the end of the long meal, she hauled herself to her feet and calculated her level of inebriation. Mild as always these days, she was careful. She was with her colleagues, her employees, and it wouldn't do to be unseemly. And her youth had taught her some hard lessons as well as given her a pretty high tolerance for alcohol. All was well there, and could glide along in her crowd to the nearest tram. She could glide along in her crowd to the nearest tram stop and get on one of the blue trams, transfer at Birkenplatz, and catch one going up the hill, saying goodbye to Bob and Badim, and traveling on with Estevan and Imeni. Then she got off at Kirkeflunten, waving goodbye to her two young companions as they headed onward, curious about them, but already thinking about other things. Tea, bed, whether she would be able to sleep. She was walking down Hochstrasse when a man walking the other way turned abruptly and began walking by her side. She looked at him, startled. He was staring at her with wild eyes. "Keep going," he commanded her in a low, choked voice. "I'm taking you into custody here." "What?" she exclaimed and stopped in her tracks. He reached out and snapped some kind of clasp around her wrist. In his other hand he showed her a small snub-nosed pistol. The clasp now locked around her wrist was half of some kind of clear plastic handcuffs, it appeared, with the other clasp locked around his wrist. "Come on," he said, starting to walk and pulling her along with him. "I want to talk with you. Come with me. I won't hurt you. If you don't come with me now, I'll shoot you." "You won't," she said faintly, but she found herself walking by his side, tugged along by the wrist. "I will," he said with a blazing glare at her. "I don't care about anything." She gulped and kept her mouth shut. Her heart was racing. The drink she thought that hadn't affected her was rushing through her body like fire, such that she almost staggered. He walked her right to her building's door, surprising her. "In we go," he said. "Come on, do it." She punched in her code and opened the outer door, up the flights of stairs to her apartment, unlocked and opened the door inside. Her place looked strange now that she was a prisoner in it. "Phone," he said. "Turn it off and put it down there." He indicated on the table by the door, where she indeed left her stuff. She took it from her purse, turned it off, and dropped it on the table. "Do you have any other GPS on you?" he asked. "Hi, Paul. How are you?" "Mr. Future is a masterpiece." Yeah. "Do you have any other GPS on you?" he asked. "What? Are you Chip? Do you have any other GPS stuck to you?" "No," she said. "I don't think so," she added. He gave her a wondering look, incredulous and disapproving. From the same pocket that held the gun, he took out a small black box, flicked a tab on it, moved it around her body. He checked its screen and nodded. "Okay, let's go." "But I don't—" "Let's go. I have a place right around the corner." "I thought you said you just wanted to talk to me." "That's right." "Then do it here. Unhook me and I'll talk to you. If you drag me out of here, I'll fall down as soon as somebody is looking and scream for help. If you only want to talk, it will go better here. I'll feel safer. I'll listen more." He glared at her for a while. "All right," he said. "Why not?" He shook his head, looking baffled and confused. She saw that and thought to herself, "This man is sick in the head. That was even more frightening. He reached down with his free hand, unlocked the clasp around her wrist. She kneaded the wrist with her other hand, stared at him, thinking furiously. I need to go to the bathroom. He glared. I want to check it first. They went into the bathroom, and he looked in the cabinet and then behind the shower screen. She supposed she might have had some kind of lifeline system in there, or another phone, or an alarm system. No such luck. When he was satisfied, he walked out the door, leaving it open. She went in and stood there for a second. Then the door swung almost shut. He had given it a push. Propriety. A polite madman. Well, it was something. She sat on the toilet and peed, trying to think her situation through. Nothing came to her. She stood, flushed, went back out to him. Do you want some tea? She asked. No. Well, I do. Fine. We'll start there. She boiled water in the teapot and brewed a cup of tea. Something to make her feel calmer. He refused a cup again, watching her work. Then they were sitting across from each other, her little kitchen table between them. He was young, late 20s or early 30s, hard to tell at that age. Thin, drawn face, dark circles under his eyes. A lean and hungry look. Oh yes, spooked by his own action here, she thought. That would make sense. But that wildness she had seen from the moment he had accosted her in there was there in him too. Some kind of carelessness or desperation. To do this thing, whatever it was, he had to be deranged. Something had driven him to do this. What do you want? She said. I want to talk to you. Why do it this way? His lip curled. I want you to listen to me. I listen to people all the time. He shook his head decisively back and forth. Not people like me. What do you mean? Why not? I'm nobody, he said. I'm dead. I've been killed. She felt a chill. Finally, not knowing if it was smart, she said, How so? He didn't appear to hear her. Now I'm supposed to have come back, but I didn't. Really, I'm dead. You're here. You're the head of a big UN agency. You have important meetings all over the world, every hour of every day. You don't have time for a dead man. How do you mean? She asked again, trying not to become more alarmed than she already was. How did you die? I was in the heat wave. Ah. He stared at her teacup. She picked it up and sipped from it. His eyes stayed locked on the table. His face was flushing. Right before her eyes, the skin of his cheeks and forehead blushed, from a blanched white to a vivid red. Beads of sweat popped out on his forehead and the backs of his hands, tense there on the table before him. Mary swallowed hard as she saw all of this. I'm sorry, she said. That must have been bad. He nodded. Abruptly he stood. He wandered around her little kitchen, his back to her. Out the window, the night was black, the lights on the rise of the Zertberg glowing all fuzzy in the night's smur. He was breathing hard, as if recovering from a sprint or trying not to cry. She listened to his deep breath, rapid breathing. Could be he was charging himself up to do something to her. After a while, he sat across from her again. Yes, it was bad, he said. Everyone died. I died. Then they brought me back. Are you all right now? She asked. No, he cried out angrily. I'm not all right. I meant physically. No, not physically, not anyway. He shook his head as if shaking away certain thoughts. I'm sorry, she said again. She sipped her tea. So you want to talk to me about that, I assume. He shook his head. Not that. That was just the start. That was what made me want to talk to you, maybe. But what I want to say isn't about that. What I want to tell you is this, and he looked her in the eye. It's going to happen again. She swallowed involuntarily. Why do you think so? Because nothing's changed, he exclaimed. Why do you ask me that? He stood up again, agitated. Now his flushed face turned an even darker red. His brows were bunched together. He leaned over her and said fiercely in a low, choked voice, Why do you pretend not to know? She took a breath. I don't pretend. I really don't know. He shook his head, glaring down at her. That's why I'm doing this, he said, his voice low and furious. You do know. You only pretend not to know. You all pretend. You're head of the United Nations Ministry for the Future, and yet you pretend not to know what the future is bringing down on us. No one can know that, she said, meeting his eye. And I have to say, the ministry is organized under the Paris Agreement. The UN isn't directly involved. You're the Ministry for the Future. I lead it, yes. He looked at her silently for a long time. At some point in this inspection, still looking at her, he sat back down across from her. He leaned over the table toward her. So, he said, what do you and your ministry know about the future then? We can only model scenarios, she said. We track what has happened and graph trajectories in things we can measure, and then we postulate and the things we can measure will either stay the same or grow or shrink. Things like temperatures or birth rates or like that? Yes. So in your exercises, is there any scenario whatsoever in which there won't be more heat waves that kill millions of people? Yes, she said. But she was troubled. This possibility that he was bringing up to her now was exactly what kept her awake at night, night after night. Scenarios with good results in which they managed to avoid more incidents of mass deaths were in fact extremely rare. People would have to do things they were not doing. His presence in her kitchen was all too much like one of her insomniac whirlpools of thought, as if she had stumbled into one of her nightmares while still awake, so that she couldn't get out of it. "Ah," he cried, reading this off her face. She grimaced, trying to erase the look. "Come on," he said. You know the future." It sounded like he might hurt his voice. He was so intent to speak without shouting. He coughed, shook his head. "And yet you're not doing anything about it, even with your job." He stood again, went to her sink, took a glass out of the drainer, filled it from the tap, and took a drink. He brought it with him back to the table and sat again. "We're doing what we can," she said. "No, you're not. You're not doing everything you can. And what you are doing isn't going to be enough." He leaned toward her again and captured her gaze, his eyes bloodshot and bugging out, pale, tortured blue eyes scarcely held in by sweating red face, transfixing her. "Admit it," he exclaimed, still strangling his voice to be less than a shout. She sighed. She tried to think what to say to him. The look in his eyes scared her. Maybe he was thinking that if he killed her now, someone more effective would replace her. It looked like that was It looked like that's what he was thinking. And here they were, after all. She had been kidnapped and taken to her own apartment. When this happened to women, they often died. Finally, she shrugged, heart racing. "We're trying." For a long time, they sat there looking at each other. She got the impression he was letting her ponder her statement for a while, letting her stew in the juices of her own futility. Finally, he said, "But it isn't working. You're trying, but it isn't enough. You're failing. You and your organization are failing in your appointed task, so millions will die. You're letting them down. Every day you let them down. You set them up for death." She sighed. "We're doing all we can with what we've got." "No, you're not." His face flushed again. He stood up again. He circled in her kitchen like a trapped animal. He was breathing heavily. Here it comes, she thought, despite herself. Her heart was really racing. Finally, he stopped over her. He leaned down at her yet again. He spoke in the low, choked voice that seemed all he could manage. "This is why I'm here. You have to stop thinking that you're doing all you can. Because you're not. There's more you could be doing." "Like what?" He stared at her. He sat down again across from her, put his face in his hands. Finally, he released his face, sat back in his chair. He looked her in the eye. There she saw something, a real person, a very troubled real person, a young man, sick and scared. "I went back to India," he said. "I tried to join a group of people I had heard about. Children of Kali. You've heard of them?" "Yes, but they're a terrorist group." He shook his head, staring at her all the while. No, you have to stop thinking with your old bourgeois values. That time has passed. The stakes are too high for you to hide behind them anymore. They're killing the world. People, animals, everything. We're in a mass extinction event, and there are people trying to do something about it. You call them terrorists, but it's the people you work for who are the terrorists. How can you not see that? I'm trying to avoid violence, Mary said. That's my job. I thought you said your job was to avoid a mass extinction event. Did I say that? I don't know. What did you say? What do you say now? Don't split hairs with me. I'm not here for hair splitting. You're killing the world and you want me to remember what words you used to cover your ass. You tell me now. What is your job as head of the ministry for the fucking future? She swallowed hard, took a sip of tea. It was cool. She tried to think of what to say. Was it wise to try and talk things over with this distraught young man who was getting angrier by the moment? Did she have any other choice than to do so? She said, the ministry was set up after the Paris meeting of 2024. They thought it would be a good idea to create an agency tasked with representing the interest of the generations to come and the interest of those entities that can never speak for themselves, like animals or watersheds. The young man gestured dismissively. This was boilerplate, known to him already. And so, how do you do that? How do you defend those interests? We've made divisions that focus on various aspects of the problem, legal, financial, physical, and so forth. We prioritize what we do to portion out the budget we're given, and we do what we can. He stared at her. What if that's not enough? What do you mean, not enough? It's not enough. Your efforts aren't slowing the damage fast enough. They aren't creating fixes fast enough. You can see that because everyone can see it. Things don't change. We're still on track for a mass extinction event. We're in extinction already. That's what I mean by not enough. So why don't you do something more? We're doing everything we can think of. But that either means you can't think of obvious things or you've thought of them and you won't do them. Like what? Like identifying the worst criminals in the extinction event and going after them. We do that. With lawsuits? Yes, with lawsuits, sanctions, publicity campaigns, and what about targeted assassinations? Of course not. Why, of course? Some of these people are committing crimes that will end up killing millions. They spend their entire lives working hard to perpetuate a system that will end in mass death. Violence begets violence, Mary said. It cycles forever. So here we are. Having lost the battle, but look, the violence of carbon burning kills many more people than any punishment for capital crimes ever would. So really your morality is just a kind of surrender. She shrugged. I believe in the rule of law. Which would be fine if the laws were just. But in fact they're allowing the very violence you're so opposed to. Then we have to change the laws. What about the violence against the carbon burning itself? Would bombing a coal plant be too violent for you? We work within the law. I think that gives us a better chance of changing things. But it isn't working fast enough. He tried to compose himself. If you took your job seriously, you'd be looking into how to make change happen faster. Some things might be against the law, but in that case, the law is wrong. I think the principle was set by Nuremberg. You're wrong to obey orders that are wrong. Mary sighed. A lot of our work these days goes to trying to point out the problems created by the currently existing legal regime and recommending corrections. But it isn't working. She shrugged unhappily, looking away. It's a process. He shook his head. If you were serious, you'd have a black wing doing things outside the law to accelerate the changes. If it was a black wing, then I wouldn't tell you about it. He stared at her. Finally, he shook his head. I don't think you have one. And if you do, it isn't doing its job. There are about 100 people walking this earth who, if you judge from the angle of the future like you're supposed to do, they are mass murderers. If they started to die, if a number of them were killed, then the others might get nervous and change their ways. She shook her head. Murder breeds murder. Exile, then. Prisons that you contrive on your own recognizance. What if they woke up one day with no assets? Their ability to murder the future would be much reduced. I don't know. If you don't do it, others will. Maybe they should. They do their part, we do ours. But yours isn't working, and if they do it, they'll get killed for it, whereas you would just be doing your job. That wouldn't justify it. So you keep it in the black zone. A lot of the world's history is now happening in the dark. You must know that. If you don't go there yourself, you've got no chance. She sipped her tea. I don't know, she said. But you're not trying to know. You're trying not to know. She sipped her tea. Abruptly, he stood again. He could barely hold himself still now. He twitched. He turned this way and that, took a step and stopped. He looked around as if he had forgotten where they were. What's the story here? He said, gesturing at her tiny kitchen. Are you married? No. Divorced? No, my husband died. What did he die of? I'm not telling you my life, she said, suddenly repulsed. Leave me alone. He regarded her with a bitter gaze. The privilege of a private life. She shook her head, focused on her teacup. Look, he said, if you really were from the future, so that you knew for sure there were people walking the earth today fighting change, so that they were killing your children and all their children, you'd defend your people in defense of your home, your life, your people. You would kill an intruder. An intruder like you. Exactly. So if your organization represents the people who will be born after us, well, that's a heavy burden. It's a real responsibility. You have to think like them. You have to do what they would do if they were here. I don't think they would countenance murder. Of course they would, he shouted, causing her to flinch. He shook hard. He quivered where he stood. He reached up and held his head as if to keep it from exploding. His eyes looked that they might pop out of his head. He turned his back to her, kicked the front of her refrigerator, staggered, and then went to the window and glanced out, hissing and fuming. I'm a fucking dead person already, he muttered to himself. He put his hands to the windowsill, leaned his forehead on the glass. After a while, his breathing steadied, and he turned and faced her again. He sat down across from her. Look, he said, visibly pulling himself together. People kill in self-defense all the time. Not to do that would be a kind of suicide, so people do it. And now your people are under assault. These supposed future people. She heaved a sigh. She kept her eyes on her teacup. He said, you just want someone else to do it. Someone with less cover than you have, someone who will suffer more for doing it. That way you can keep your good life and your nice kitchen and let the desperate people take the hit for trying. The very people you're tasked with defending. I don't know, she said. I know. I met with some of them in India. I wanted to join them, but they wouldn't have me. They're going to do what you should be doing. They'll kill and they'll be killed. They'll commit some petty act of sabotage and be put in prison for the rest of their lives, and all for doing the work you ought to be doing. You didn't join them? They wouldn't have me. A spasm contorted his face. He wrestled with the memory. I was just another Farangi as far as they were concerned, an imperial administrator like in the old days, an outsider telling them what to do. Probably they were right. I thought I was doing the best I could, just like you, and I could have died just by helping a little health clinic. I did die, but for some reason my body lived on after my death. And here I am, still trying to do things. I'm a fool. But they didn't want my help. Probably they were right. I don't know. They'll do what they need to without me. They don't need me. They're doing what your agency should be doing. That'll be harder once they go outside India. They'll get killed for it. So I've been trying to do what I think they might want here, where I can move around better than they can. You've been killing people? Yes, he said, swallowed hard, thinking about it. I'll get caught eventually. Why do you do it? I want justice. Vigilante justice is usually just revenge. He waved her away. Revenge would be okay, but more importantly, I want to help stop it happening again. The heat wave and things like it. We all want that. His face went red again, choked voice again. Then you need to do more. Her doorbell rang. It was well after midnight. There was no one who would call on her now. He saw that on her face and lunged toward her. They both had stood up instinctively. You gave me away, his terrified face inches from hers. I didn't. And because she hadn't, she could meet his wide-eyed glare with one of her own. For a second they stood there locked in a gaze beyond telling. Both of them panicked. There are cameras everywhere, she said. We must have been seen out on the street. Go tell them you're okay. He put his hand in the pocket with the gun. All right. Heart pounding harder than ever, she went to her door, out onto the landing, down the flights of internal stairs to the building's outside door on the ground floor. She opened it, keeping the chain on. 2 police officers, or perhaps private security. Minister Murphy? Yes, what is it? We received a report that you were seen entering your apartment with a man. Yes, she said, thinking hard. He's a friend, there's no problem. He's not listed among your known friends. I don't like the implications of that, she said sharply. But for now, just know that he's the son of an old schoolmate of mine from Ireland. I tell you it's all right, thanks for checking on me. She closed the door on them and went back upstairs. Her apartment was empty. She wandered around, no one there. Finally, she checked the door that led out onto the little balcony hanging over the back lot of the place. It had been left ajar, all dark down there. Overhead, the bare branches of the giant linden that covered the yard blocked the stars with a black pattern. She leaned over the metal railing, looked down. Probably one could down-climb one of the big square posts at the outer corners of the balcony. She wouldn't have wanted to try it herself. The young man had looked like someone who wouldn't be stopped by having to down-climb a single story. I told them you were a friend, she said angrily into the darkness. She was angry at him and at herself. Her mind raced. She felt sick. It took about a minute for her to run through her options and realize what she had to do. She ran back down inside and down the stairs to the outside door, ran out into the street calling, Police, police, come back here, come back. And then they were back, hustling to her fast and staring at her curiously. She told them that she had to lie to them to keep 3 of them from being shot by the man who had been with her. He had seized her in the street, held her at gunpoint. He was gone now, having left while she was talking to them. All true, though ever so incomplete. She realized as she spoke to them that she would never be able to tell anyone what had really happened. Things like that hour were not tellable. They were on their radios, alerting their colleagues. They led her upstairs, guns drawn. She sat back down on her kitchen chair, took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking. It was going to be a long night. That was a lot. That was a lot. I'm going to stop there. That was pretty intense. Such a good book. Um, I'll probably continue Thursday night, I think. Yeah, I'll probably do Thursday night. I don't know. We'll see how tomorrow goes. I'm not sure what's happening tomorrow. But we have 35 viewers. Hello, everyone on Twitter and here on YouTube. Thanks for coming. Anyway, I think I'm going to go. But yeah, thank you so much for coming tonight. Yay. That was a lot. I can't wait to hear what happens next. You're welcome. Thank you. All right. I'll see you in the morning for the section 230 if you have time to join me. You have choices of many streamers. Thank you for choosing Lolo's Lounge. All right. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. I'll see you all later. Wah, wah. Boopy doop.